Hello and welcome to this series of 3 webinars looking at vision, mission and goals. These 3 elements are going to be the foundation components upon which you are going to build your brilliant dispute resolution, mediation, collaborative practice. Once we've got our vision, what our values really are, once we've got those in place, then they provide the keystone, if you like, around which we can then design this business which is going to enable you to do more of the dispute resolution work that you love, and at the same time, and critically, be able to feed yourself and your family as you do that. You can find the notes and exercises on these modules in our book, the Get Artisan Business Development for Mediators, Collaborative Practitioners and Dispute Resolution Professionals. Almost 100 pages of text and exercises, and you can get this from going to getartisan.biz and follow the link through on the book order page. These webinars have been designed so that they will stand alone, just as an introduction to these elements, but also as the pre-course work for people who are attending the Get Artisan 2-day business development workshop that we're going to be running right across North America and Europe as well over the next few years. So we look forward to joining those of you who will be coming on that course in the coming weeks. So let's get started with vision. Sometimes there can be confusion between these words vision and mission. Which are which? What do they mean? It may be easier if we see vision as being interchangeable with values. What are the values that are important to you? What are the values that you would want your work and your business to portray so that you are comfortable with that? It's important to get these values sorted so that when you are working through the difficult phases of your work, whether in building and designing this business which is really going to work, or whether we are doing the work itself, the substantive mediation, dispute resolution stuff that we do, that you're not having to worry about whether the work that you do and how you're presenting yourself is faithful to who you really are. When we work in ways which really resonate with who we are and what is important to us, then our work becomes much more compelling. It flows much better. And that's what we want for you in your work. So how might we go about discerning what our values are? There's a brilliant book, you've probably heard of it, by a gentleman named Stephen Covey, unfortunately now passed away. And the book is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Some of you may well be rolling your eyes at this stage, thinking, oh no, not that book again. This book is ubiquitous within business and personal development. For that reason, it can come across as being a bit cheesy, a bit commonplace. And there's a good reason for that. The reason is this. The book pretty much started the whole idea of personal development. There's Stephen Covey and there was Dale Carnegie, and they were doing this brilliant work together which has just set the path, it's set the direction and the route for so much literature in this field which has followed since. And so I have no shame, I have no qualms about referring back to that work for guidance, for inspiration. It's good stuff. And what does Stephen Covey say about values? He has a brilliant exercise, and it's this. Imagine that you've passed away and that you are at your own funeral. You're in some kind of disembodied state, so your spirit is there and you're able to drift around this hall or this church where your funeral is taking place, this service. And as you drift around, you notice that there's a group of people over here, maybe they're family members. And over here there's another group of people, and they might be colleagues or they may be peers or even competitors from your sector in the marketplace. And now I just want you to really quietly approach one of these groups, any group, it doesn't matter, but just approach them and just imagine to yourself what they might be saying about you, even though you've now passed away. How do they talk about you? How do they talk about your work, about how you presented yourself, about how you conducted yourself? How do they talk about issues such as integrity, about the things that were important to you? What kind of things would you like them to be saying? And as you're just thinking this through, just scribble them down. Take a note of it. And now imagine this. It's the eulogy. So this is the final summing up of your life. This is essentially who you were in no more than 5 minutes. How would you like that eulogy to sound? What kind of features of your life, the way that you are trying to live your life, would you like that eulogy to pick up on and to make explicit? Imagine the awful situation if you're there within this church, within this hall, and you're listening to this eulogy, this summing up of your life, and you're struggling to make the link between what is being said and the way that you thought you were living. Imagine that. And you're there as this kind of this ghost, this disembodied spirit, and you're shouting out. You're like Dustin Hoffman at the back of the church in a graduate, but they can't hear you. And you're shouting out, "No, that's not me. That's not what I was trying to do. You've got it all wrong. Those aren't the values that I was living to." It would be awful, wouldn't it? And you know what? There would only be one person to blame. I'm afraid to say it would be you. It would be me. If that were to happen, then we had not made our values clear enough. And I think that's a real challenge within this question of vision, of values. These values that we have, that we say that we hold dear, are we doing enough to make them explicit? Are we pushing them up front within our work, within our business, in the material that we produce, the things that we do, the way that we talk and the way that we treat people? Because if we aren't, then whoever it is who gets to do the eulogy, they're going to be entirely forgiven for having misinterpreted, for having missed the clues. Sometimes what we can do with our values is we kind of drop little clues along the way, hoping that the people will pick up on them, that they might discern something. Don't do that. Make it easy, make it obvious. Write your values in big, bold colours, in big crayons, in big, bold brushstrokes, so that your values will be unmistakable. And yet, what are these values? This is still too abstract. So we need to go down a bit further into this. Within the Get Artisan book, we have an exercise, I think it's page 11, where we invite you to write down the different roles that you have in your life. So maybe you're a collaborative practitioner. Maybe you still do some conventional law as well. Maybe you're a mediator. In addition to our professional roles, don't forget, we've got those social roles. So me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother. I'm all of these things as well. I'm a member of my church family. All of these elements rush into place. And now ask yourself, so if on one column we have our roles, the next column we ask ourselves, what are the essential values to enable me to succeed within each of those roles? So what are the essential, the prerequisite values for each of those roles? And then a third column, what are the additional values that I believe that I can and that I would like to bring to these roles? So go through that exercise. Remember, it's in the book, and you can go to lulu.com and search Get Artisan and get that book or the sample of just the 3 modules if you want a low cost entry. So having done that, you will then have a list, you'll have several values that you have jotted down. Look back at your 2 exercises, the roles and the funeral exercise. And you have this list of values, and what we then invite you to do is to write out each of those values in a table, and next to each of them attribute a score. And the score, you will only have, let's say, 100 points. And so all of these values, you have to distribute your 100 points between those values. And when you've done that, then you can very easily take your top 5. When you've been able to sift out and discern what your top 5 values are, going through that process, then you can go through this next process of designing and writing a statement that will simply embody these 5 visions. My vision statement is that in the work that I do, I will demonstrate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have you got that? Brilliant. We're going to see you on the next webinar. In the next webinar, we're going to be looking at mission. What is your mission statement as you go about building your mediation, your collaborative, and your dispute resolution practice? Don't forget, go to lulu.com and get the Get Artisan book, or go to getartisan.biz and go to the book order page. And hopefully we'll see you at one of our upcoming 2-day business development workshops. We can't wait to help you to build a really effective mediation practice.